Hi, I'm Maude Kelly, and I'm president of Helpers of Our Farm. We are a nonprofit farm animal sanctuary where we connect our community to animals and to our environment. Our goal is to educate and to get people to understand animals and our environment better through education that creates hands-on experiences. Unfortunately, right now we are not able to connect with our community in person, so we are trying to connect with you virtually. We hope you enjoy our little tour today and look forward to hopefully seeing you on the farm in the future. Greenlands Farm is home to Helpers of Our Farm. Greenlands Farm is actually a homestead farm. And what is a homestead farm? Generally, the difference between a homestead farm and a farm is farming, you normally sell and produce products like vegetables, and use them as a profit. A homestead farm, you focus on living off of the land and what you produce to sustain yourself. We're kind of do a little bit of both, where we also sell eggs and some of our fruits that we grow on the farm. But as a family, we're a three-generational family, and we all live off of what we produce. My father is a farmer. Although he's retired, he still does grow fruits for us and vegetables. And we'll take a look at some of our vegetables and fruits in a bit. You can see our animals grazing in our pasture, and one of the things that we do here is we collect all the water that runs out the pasture. You can see this grassy swale in front of us, and that actually connects into this pond. And through the pond, we have plants that surround it, and we also have fish stocked in here, and they all help filter all the contaminants from our pastures before they end up in this little creek that runs here, and then finally ends up in our ditch. That is our county's ditch, and that ditch actually leads to our drinking water for our entire county. So before we deposit our water from our farm into our drinking water, we have cleaned all of it. So one of the ways that we are sustainable here is that we compost. We also do a couple other sustainable practices here on the farm, but one of my favorites is composting because it's something you can do in your own backyard. So all your table scraps do not include dairy, starchy foods, a very minimal amount of those, oils, things like that do not compost. But all of your leafy vegetables, you can actually put right in your tumbler here. They have different kinds. You get smaller ones, you get bigger ones. We have a really large one that we use for composting our manure. They put it in here, and part of what compost needs is air. So you actually, it's called a tumbler because it actually tumbles. And then with our large compost bin that we use on the farm, we actually turn it with our tractor. So that's something easy you can do at home. So if you look at this graphic, you can see how our farm composts. So you put compost into your compost bin, a worm box, and we actually have a soldier fly bin as well. And all that food waste turns into compost, and it's organic nutrients, and you can add that to your flower gardens, or hopefully maybe you're growing a vegetable garden at home, and it creates a natural and sustainable way of fertilizing. Another sustainable practice on the farm is collecting rainwater. So you take water from a surface that is hard, it's called your runoff, you collect it, it gets filtered in here, and we use it for our kitty Hannah, so she has her water bowl down here. We also use it for watering, this is Pinky and Pepper behind me, our pigs, and you can use it at home for things like washing your car, giving your dog a bath, but it's a nice way of reducing your use of water from the city, or even groundwater. So let's take a look at our organic fruits that we grow here at Greenlands Farm. So this is our fig trees. We have a small fig orchard here, and those will bloom for us, and then those blooms will come into fruit, and we will harvest them. We also grow scuppernong grapes, and here's some of our grapevines. One of the challenges with growing grapes is that you have to prune all the leaves back once they start to bear fruit, and make sure that the sun can hit the grapes so that they ripen. So grapes won't ripen if they are covered by foliage. And coming into our orchard area, this is our gomi berry shrub. It's a type of Elaeagnus, and you can see that they're flowering here. And you can actually start to see some of the fruit to start right here. So this, you can see the tip of the flower, and it's starting to fruit, and this will turn into a delicious and kind of tart little red fruit that we make jam out of, and we'll actually turn and put cream on them. They're pretty delicious. These are actually a rare find in our area. This is our tea leaves, and the tea is actually about ready to be picked here. So tea is really interesting. The tea all comes from, if you guys are tea drinkers like we are, tea comes from just one plant. So your black tea, your green tea, your white tea, they all come from one plant, which is Camellia sinensis. And if you look here, see if I can show you. So this is the very, very fresh tip here. And this is what your white tea would be made out of. This it's not even open yet, as you can see the leaves. This very soft leaf here is what green tea it comes from. And then this leaf here, which is more developed, is what your black tea comes from. And it all comes down to the process as far as how you get different flavors in black tea. And we enjoy actually making green tea, so we normally take these leaves here and make green tea with them. And lastly, I'll walk here through the orchard. We've actually lost, unfortunately, a lot of plants due to the hurricane. So too much water has caused us to lose a good portion of our orchard, unfortunately. But we will start replanting eventually. And so here is these are our persimmons, our Japanese persimmons. Now, if anybody's had native persimmons, they're much different tasting than Japanese persimmons. Japanese persimmons are very sweet, and if you pick them when they're a little hard, they actually kind of have almost, not quite, a little bit softer, but kind of like an apple, maybe more of a pear texture. And they're very delicious. And lastly, you can see over here, this tree straight ahead is our pear tree, and you can see it's blooming. So we'll get pears, Asian pears, off of that tree. So one of the things that we try to do here on the farm is we do organic. So a way to do that, we've talked about our chicken tractor. And our chicken tractor, we drag along, and it actually fertilizes this orchard for us. You can also do fish fertilizers, natural fertilizers, fish emulsion, bone meal. We talked about our compost, so we use that. And then there's manure. So there's different types of manure you can use. Some can go directly into the ground. Things like rabbit and llama can go directly in the ground to fertilize your plants. Others need to actually compost because of the structure of the manure. So the other thing we don't do is we do not use any synthetic fertilizers, herbicides, or chemicals. And this is kind of how sustainable farming and sustainable living applies to organic. It's kind of the same. They're kind of hand in hand. So all these things can be done at your home. I know that a lot of people are starting to grow vegetables again, and we encourage you to take a look at how to do things organically. It's better for the environment, and it's better for our health, and that's something that we are very passionate about here at Greenlands Farm. this is what's called a chicken tractor, and this is another sustainable practice that we do on the farm. The reason why it's called a chicken tractor is because it is able to move. So chickens love to have fresh vegetation. They also love to eat bugs and slugs and snails, which makes them omnivores, not vegetarians. And what we can do is pop this up and move it along every day or every couple days. In turn, what they do for us is they have phosphorus and nitrogen-rich fecal matter, and that also fertilizes for us. So you can actually fertilize your yard while your chickens actually help keep the moat a little bit as well. So one of the things I would like to say, I know my girl's in here because she's very broody. So this is a Silkie. Silkie is a fancy chicken, and Silkies are notorious for being very broody. I know, and she's a little bit upset at me because I took her away from laying on nothing actually right now. So one of the cool things about Silkies, so there's about 150 different breeds of chickens. They are supposedly, there's research that have showed that they were found in Vietnam about 10,000 years ago. And there also has been research to find that they are the closest living relative to a Tyrannosaurus Rex. We promise they are not that scary, but if you ever see a chicken running across the yard, it actually looks like a little miniature T-Rex, which I think is really cute. So, special thing about Silkies, not only are they very fluffy, I'm sorry, I know there's no eggs for you to lay on, baby. They're very fluffy, but they have black skin. They also have an extra toe, so they have more toes than most chickens do. They also have what's called feathered feet, so you can see that they have feathers on their feet. This little ring is actually, we are MPIP and AI clean, so we have our birds tested to make sure they're free of disease. So that little bracelet that she's wearing shows that. Let's see, what else about chickens? This is, you took me off my egg. So they actually have a lot of language, vocal vocabulary that they use. And this is her not being happy that she's not being allowed to breed right now. But you can hear they'll actually tell you when they found food. The roosters like to do that a lot for the hens. They will also let you know when they've laid an egg. They do a nice big balk bragging to all the girls that they just laid an egg. And chickens lay about 300 eggs a year. So depending on your breed, and also daylight, so they have to have a certain amount of daylight in order to lay an egg, and most of that is because it allows them to eat more and drink more. So you'll see some farms, they'll put lights out in their coops in order to extend the daylight hours. We have not done that because honestly don't have time to do that, but maybe sometime in the future. And plus it's nice for them to have a break in the winter, to not have to lay so many eggs and kind of get a little chill out time. Chickens live between about 7 to 10 years, normally probably closer to 7, but they only lay for about 2 to 4 years. So what we do here, especially even though we do have chickens for Greenlands Farm, for helpers of our farm, our nonprofit, we actually let all our girls kind of have a retirement home. So even if they're not laying, they get to live out a happy little chicken life after they're done laying for us. So we also find it important to feed them food that we would eat. So all our chickens get non-GMO food. They also get scraps of healthy vegetable scraps from our garden as well. They love anything leafy, so they will eat lettuce and kale, pretty much anything that you can throw them that's a leaf. Okay, baby. Okay. I know. You want to go back in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to let her go back in now that I've upset her. But you see that they have a really fun little fluffy tail. They're a really friendly breed. They're great for kids. They don't get really any bigger than this. She probably weighs maybe 1.5 pounds, so she's one of the smaller ones. Some of them can get up to 10 pounds, some of the really large breeds. So that's our chickens. So this is kind of a typical day on the sanctuary. Everybody grazing very happily. We rotate pastures, so hey buddy. So this is Coleman, I think. If you haven't met him before, this is our llama. One of our green ways of sustainable ways of providing food and healthy food for our animals is we rotate pastures. And within that rotation, you can see, and this is the work of our volunteers, so you can see there's hardly any manure out here. So we do our best to collect all the manure from the pastures. It's actually a very, I do it. I think it's a very peaceful and enjoyable experience. It's nice being out here with everybody, and they actually like to help sometimes, the animals do. But the reason why we do that is not only to have a beautiful looking pasture that's clean, it cuts down on our parasites. So all animals have parasites, even humans have parasites. And some are healthy and some are not, and some are okay if you have a small amount, but when you get a very large amount, they start taking nutrients away from you. And one of the ways that we prevent our animals from getting too many parasites is by collecting their manure. So we take away the problem, basically. And we do fecal checks a few times a year, especially in times when they're most common to get a bloom of parasites. And if they need medication, worming, then we do that for them. But generally, we try to not do it if it's not necessary. Some people worm all the time, and you actually end up building up a resistance to it. So that's one of the reasons why we do it the way that we do. So the other thing is rotating our pastures. So right now I have all of this open because I have another pasture on another part of the property that I'm getting ready to open up for them. So, and then this will rest. So this will be able to recuperate from the winter. This is their winter pasture. And I'll move them over to their spring and summer pasture. And I'll probably bring them back over here sometime during the summer again to let their other pasture rest too. But what that also does is reduces your parasites as well. So the more you rotate, the healthier your pastures become. And one other thing I like to look at, our family, my parents and myself, we are landscape architects by trade. And my parents are actually the ones who developed the property and turned it into what it is. I helped a little bit with design, but I do notice some things probably that most people don't. And what I'm walking on right now is called a desire line. So this is our pasture desire line. This is the animal's desire line. So that's the pasture to the other very easily. And it is humans actually do this as well. So if you look on a campus, I remember in college seeing it the most. You'll see lines cutting across like lawns to get to classes and to dorms. And I remember my college used to go back in the summer and pave over those desire lines because they knew that that's the way that people were traveling. So you can kind of see, and Junior's walking it right now. So Junior's our senior horse. He does a lot of help with meeting. Hey buddy, I know you're a good boy. with meeting kids. He loves children. And here's Rupert. But you can see there goes Junior following the same line. Llamas, actually, their scientific name is Llama Gama, and if you look at Coleman, you can kind of see he looks similar to a camel. That's because he's in the camelid family. Llamas are very sociable, even though he's walking away from me. They do a lot of communication with their tail, their ears, and it's known that they spit, and the reason why they spit is normally because somebody's irritating them. Normally they don't come up and just spit on you. So one of the things that normally gets a good spit out of a llama is face touching. Llamas hate to have their faces touched. The best place to touch them is on their chest. They're not really, if they don't know you, they're not keen on eye contact, so a lot of times if you look at their feet and walk up to them, and they will actually let you pet them normally. Coleman is a little special. He came to us last year, actually, so he was rehomed with us, and we have been working with him. He was not handled that much, so we have been doing a lot to try to get him used to getting touched by little hands and big hands, and he's doing very well. So he's actually bonded with some of our volunteers, and he does really good when he goes out or when people come to visit. Generally, he likes to be the one to initiate contact and not be touched, but he is getting much better at it. So this is William. William is a French alpine goat. I think there's about 300 different breeds of goats. They all range in different sizes. William's kind of one of the larger sizes. Goats have been used for a very long time for milk and meat. Obviously, ours are as pets. When our country was founded, if you look at the census of, I think it's 1630, Jamestown, they brought their milk goats with them. So they have been a part of our society since the beginning of our country. And we'll take a little walk over to Rupert. So this is Rupert. Rupert is a Shetland pony. Shetland ponies are normally under 10, I think it's 10.2 hands. Rupert, I believe, is 10 hands. And what hands mean? So horses have been a part of our society, our culture, our lives since was BC, and I believe it was like 400 BC or 500 BC. So obviously we did not have the ruler back then, which was, I think, in the early 1800s is when the ruler was invented. So what they did was they would measure by hands, and a hand is this width across the knuckles. It was the general width of 4 inches would be a man's hand. So this is his withers, and what you do is you measure up from his bottom of his hoof up to his withers, and that tells you how many hands you would stack your hands. So he's 10. I think he's just 10 hands. So he would be 10 times of you stacking your hands up. Shetland ponies are really interesting in that pound for pound, they're one of the strongest equines. So he's actually, for his size and his weight and what he's able to do, he actually can do more work than a horse pound for pound for what size and weight they are. And ponies are generally used for, people will cart with them. Back earlier for work, people would use them for packing, carrying peat. In Ireland, they actually were used in the coal mines as well. They switched from using children to using ponies because they were small and they could carry a lot. Equines are personally my favorite. They are very quick to bond with you and have a lot of personality. It is known that I believe the horse has the ability to make the most facial expressions. They also can understand facial expressions. Most animals can. So if you give them a very happy look, they're generally interested in giving that back to you. But we love having Rupert with us. He was rescued from Mecklenburg County, and he was found abandoned. He actually has a police report that I have. And so we took him in. He was actually intact, and he was gelded, and he has turned out to be one of our sweetest ponies. Very, very, very smart. Equines have different levels of intelligence, but Rupert is definitely one of our smarter ones. I call him my Houdini pony because he can get into anything and pretty much get out of anything. So we have to make sure things are locked and latches are done and his halter is on properly. But he is a great joy to have and has connected with a lot of people here on the farm and off the farm. So that is the end of our animals, and we hope that you enjoyed our little virtual tour. We hope to see you out here with us sometime in the future. We would love to have your help with donating. We had to cancel we were hoping to have all of you here today on April 11th, but we had to cancel due to our circumstances in our country right now. But we do hope that you consider giving us a small donation to help us continue. All our donations go towards feed, vet care, supplies for our animals. We are a volunteer-based nonprofit, so all of us, including myself, are volunteers, and we love sharing our animals and our knowledge with our community, and we hope that you will continue to follow us. Thank you so much for being here.